This episode is brought to you in partnership with Choose Chicago. Capture the excitement.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
Yo,
How y'all doing?
Great.
If you read the title of this and you see they did this before, that's because we did this before.
It's a great intro.
Sometimes sequels can be great.
You know?
Yeah.
And we out there to prove it to y'all, man. 77
Hey.
Flavors of Chicago, starting right now.
This is the podcast where we visit all 77 of Chicago's historic neighborhoods and discuss their heritage and taste the amazing food.
And if you know anything about us, we love two things, food and Chicago. So I can't wait to burn this gas money.
You ready?
Let's get it.
This is the 77 Flavors of Chicago, the podcast.
What's up? What's up?
You didn't
Well,
even let me finish the
Oh, my
singing.
bad. Go ahead. You want me
No,
to
it's
run it
over.
back?
It's,
Want me to
the
run it
moment
back?
is gone.
Yeah, let's get the remix.
Yeah, you know. He asked for the remix. Y'all, welcome back to another dope episode, 77 Flavors of Chicago.
Hey,
Dario.
Sarah.
Joshua Smyser-DeLeon.
Hey, hold on.
Full name in there.
Yeah. Full name in there. Hold on. And,
Google him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I gotta do my man's right. Hold on.
What?
Oh my gosh. Feels like I'm in the club. I
Yeah.
love that.
You are in the club.
Yeah. We're in Club Pastrami. That's what that's what we in right now.
That's a good name for a club.
Yeah. So I just want to address the issue that I lied, and I said that the time we did 2 episodes in 1 week, that was the last time that we would ever do that.
Oh, yeah.
I told people not to get comfortable.
Get
Sorry.
comfortable.
Life changes. Life changes. And we have new friends over at Choose Chicago. So,
Yes.
so
this is this episode is a little more of an in-depth dive into Humboldt Park.
Yeah.
So we've previously recorded an episode. You can go back and listen to that one. But this one's a little more info. So
yeah,
you know.
which
But don't come at us if it's not all the info you wanted. Just keep it moving. Okay.
right.
Well, actually, our guest is a podcaster, so go listen to his podcast.
Yeah, right. He's
Get
gonna
more
tell
info there.
tell you more about that. You know what I'm saying about Humboldt Park.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, Josh, why don't you go ahead and tell the people who you are, give some insight as to what you are, who you are, and what you do.
Sure thing. Well, first off, Dario, Sarah, thank you so much for having me on
Of
the
course.
podcast. I appreciate it. Always.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Always awesome to meet fellow podcasters in Chicago.
Yeah.
So a little bit about myself. Born and raised in Chicago, specifically here in the Humboldt Park neighborhood. Did a lot of community activism work, organizing work. Come from the nonprofit world, professionally, day job, because I don't make any money off the podcast that I'm doing. And that's just a labor of love. But my day job, my background's in communications. But I've done all types of cool stuff. I've taught at DePaul University. I've represented clients like Hershey, Scott's Miracle Grow,
What?
Hyatt. Done some cool stuff like that. All right. I got to beat my
First
buddy
coin.
and Deshaun though.
Uh-oh, we got a war going on here.
Get my coins up. So just did a lot of good stuff. I mean, I bleed Humboldt Park, red, blue, and white.
Hey.
Of our bandera, our Puerto Rican flag.
Let's go.
And then now, I mentioned it before, got a podcast. Y'all mentioned it before. I got a podcast. Definitely go check out the Paseo podcast when you get a moment. Cheap plug.
Don't ain't no
Oh,
G
no.
right here. No, we got coins to spin, my brother.
So, well, a high-level view of what that podcast is. Basically, at the heart, it's just highlighting stories by, from, and about the Puerto Rican community. So we'll get like activists on, artists, authors, politicians, and we just talk about everything from historical moments in Puerto Rican history, historical moments not just here in Chicago, but throughout the diaspora, on La Isla. Sometimes it's just a profile on somebody that's just doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Either way, every episode that comes out every couple of weeks, there's going to be a different Boricua in the guest chair. And I think the conversations we have are always quality. Definitely brings a lot of joy into my life, being able to do that and meet Puerto Ricans from all around the world.
Yeah.
So why did you start this podcast? Why did you feel like there was a need for it? Was something missing?
Definitely something missing. So when I was growing up, I was in school. I didn't hear a lot about Puerto Rican history. If I did, it was maybe a few paragraphs, maybe a couple pages in a history book, and really it focused on the United States, quote unquote, saving Puerto Rico from Spain, which you can look up in the Library of Congress. Puerto Rico was on its own pathway to independence. Spain was actually giving them their own self-government. They actually had their first election, I want to say 1897 or 1898. Yeah, 1897. Spain's like, yeah, you can be free. That's fine. Take Cuba with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And United States, a month later, Spanish-American War happens. And then what happens? The United States saves,
Right.
quote unquote,
Quote,
Puerto
unquote.
Rico from Spain.
Don't they love doing that? They've been doing that.
He said it's in the book, y'all. Y'all
It's in a
come
book. Library of Congress. Look it up. I'm not lying. But-
Somebody's going to fact check you.
Yes,
So,
but it wasn't until college where I was like exposed to those types of facts.
Yeah.
right.
And I really felt like I was done a disservice. Luckily, I had my grandfather who migrated from Puerto Rico to Chicago, had a small business here. He was very in tune with his Puerto Rican culture, loved history, so I got to learn a lot of my own history from him.
Yeah.
My mom was very involved in the community, very proud to be Puerto Rican, so a lot of my best conversations about Puerto Rican history and what was going on in the Puerto Rican community really came from those dinner table conversations.
Wow.
But I wanted to expand that as I got older in life. I was getting my master's in public relations and advertising, and I thought from DePaul University, go Blue Demons.
Hey.
And so I get the master's, and a part of that was putting together a portfolio of your work. And I didn't want something that was finite. I want something that brought me joy. I want something that was meaningful to me, true to my identity. And I said, well, I like podcasting. I listened to a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It is very
He
hard.
said, yeah. Let them know. Don't be fooled, y'all.
Do not be fooled, y'all. And I was like, all right, let me give this a shot. And then partnered up with the Puerto Rican Cultural Center here on Paseo Boricua. And they were like, yeah, what do you need? Put a little studio in there. Next thing you know, we're having people on like Sonia Manzano from Sesame Street. We've had our
crazy.
congressman, Jesus Chuy Garcia, on the show, although he's Mexicano, but he's always welcome to the Boricua
Right.
barbecue.
Yeah, there you go. He got his invite.
But he only has his invite. He's earned his stripes. But that's really where it came from. I saw a void. I wanted to learn more. My grandfather passed away in the mid 2000s or mid aughts, I think we call them.
Yeah.
So and I was getting older, moved out of my parents' house, and I needed to scratch that itch. So I said, let me do this, and it's been a great way to kind of force myself to stay up to date on the news coming out of the island,
Right.
throughout the diaspora, and it's a great excuse to meet other Boricuas doing cool stuff.
There you go. I think that's probably the coolest thing is how it came about. Because you're right. It's probably why we do this podcast. For a number of reasons why we do it. But it's good to hear, the story of Chicago from a minority point of view that doesn't get talked about a lot. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's very dope because, like, honestly, we don't talk about, like Puerto Rican specifically situations all the time. And even when we did this the first time around, we learned a shit ton. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
The first time, and how things can get misconstrued in the news and over time in history, just like Black American culture. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. What they teach you in the schools is part of the story. So very dope to have that podcast be something out here. And I just want to say, y'all, man, he's one of the dopest people on Twitter.
Come on,
you know what I mean?
come on.
No,
now.
for real.
No, for real. I mean, because like we still fans of a lot of things that happen. So when like we reach out, we like, oh snap, yo, did you see who reached out to us? You see him? You know what I mean? Like, so it was like an absolute honor, man, to have you kind of interact with us on there. So and to put a face with the podcast and the Twitter handle now is a beautiful thing. So
Thank you. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate that. That means a lot. You never know what you're doing if people like it.
Right.
I think, as you all know, you like what you do,
Yes.
and if that brings you some side of like joy or passion, that's a beautiful thing.
That's the beautiful thing.
So to hear those kind words, it's very much appreciated. Very
Absolutely.
much like your show too. I was telling you before we recorded, I was listening to that Humboldt Park episode, and I was like taking notes. I was like, Dario, man, I love your fun facts, but we got to get more in there.
Let's go.
But
Hey.
I'm biased.
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no. We love it. I mean,
Yeah.
and so we were off air. I was telling you that we went through the first time and trying to sum it up so quick. The second time around, I'm like, how did I not talk about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
It's so hard.
It's so
There's
hard.
so much.
It's so hard, and it's good that we have the neighborhood where we could deep dive into it and talk to somebody who does know. You know what I mean? Somebody who's in this, and you give us the point of view of what's going on. You tell us. You know what I mean? Because this whole podcast is about learning in general. So we telling Chicago's history. We talking to Chicago people. So none of us have it 100% down. That's the point of it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I love it, man. Like, shoot, it's okay. You better than some of these people that be leaving reviews, man. Like, they be leaving these reckless ass reviews, man. So
I'm sorry y'all have to deal with
yeah,
that.
it's all good, man. It's part of the
Chicagoans
job.
are
Literally
tough.
like it's literally like two people.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
The same two people?
No,
Probably.
yeah. No, it's
Just creating different handles.
no, it's literally two reviews and it's from two people.
Yeah.
You're used to it.
I'm used to it.
Have
Like,
you ever gotten heckled?
not in a negative sense.
Okay.
Not in a negative sense. But you know,
Oh, no.
a heckler is anybody that just will laugh and like still be talking, even though they think they've been.
yeah,
They
yeah.
think they've
That's
been
fair,
nice.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I've been heckled in that sense, but like, I've never had a person say something wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because like I'm also from the South Side of Chicago, y'all. Like, these jokes gonna fly. You know,
Yeah.
just with the fist now.
Right, yeah.
Try me if you want to.
You know, connecting that to, grow up on the South Side and that reviewer saying, like, well, you only get excited about your culture. Like, if you threw me, like, you talk about the Puerto Rican parade, I could
Right.
talk all day.
Yeah, all
like,
day.
That's like,
Yeah.
anything you want to know, man, we'll talk Boricua stuff all day.
Yeah.
You drop me in the middle of the Bud Billigan parade, I could tell you a little bit, but there's no way I'm going to, like, or like St. Patrick's
Yeah,
Day
right.
parade. Like, I'm not going to be able to give you as much detail as
Right.
somebody that is from that culture, has
Right.
grown up around that. Like,
Yeah.
It's an unfair. I'm sorry you had to, but you handled it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of this is a good process part too.
Yeah.
When you hearing this stuff, like, you know, I'm telling it, but I'm sure if I was listening to it, I'd probably be like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like some of these facts, and we got some more pretty cool facts today. Just if you listen to the first version of Humboldt Park, you probably like, what else can they say? Well, I got more shit. So, but I mean, a lot of times we intake this stuff. I'm reading when I do my research. I'm like, damn, holy shit. You know, like that's kind of dope. So, without further ado, I think let's get into it.
Let's jump into
Humboldt
it.
Park Part 2.
do
But Josh, I know you listened to the episode, so this is how we get ready.
did.
There, yeah. Reading Rainbow,
My
y'all.
fave. My fave.
Yeah,
Shout out
buddy.
to LeVar Burton.
You know-
man.
you
Shout
know.
out to him. He should have been the Jeopardy host.
We can talk about that a whole different.
That's a whole podcast.
That's a
in
whole
itself.
podcast in itself right there, man. That was like the only person, you know. Like
It
anyway,
was like Universal Karma. Not to get off track,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was Universal Karma when they chose somebody else.
Yeah.
you know,
Anyway.
it's all good. It's all good.
Anyway.
But y'all, we are indeed in Humboldt Park again, actually on location at Jeff and Jude's right here on Cortez and Western. And for those of you that need a refresher, Humboldt Park is community area number 23. Annexed to the city in 1869, and 207-acre park named after Alexander von Humboldt, German naturalist and geographer,
Who's never been.
who has never been he's never been to the United States. But he's that cold. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, he got a whole damn community area here in Chicago named after him.
Yeah, we'll see. Different time. Different times.
Yeah. You know,
The name holds a lot of sentimental value because
Really?
I grew up in the neighborhood, but
yeah.
it's odd.
It's odd.
It is
It's very
odd.
odd.
It's odd.
It's very odd. You know what I mean? Dude has never been here, and he's German. Hey,
Right.
you know,
Right.
it is what it is. But something that we didn't do the first time around because we started a little bit later are the boundaries. So to the north, we got Bloomingdale Avenue. To the south, Kinsey and Metro Railroad tracks. To the east, Kedzie, California. And to the west, the railroad tracks at Kenton. Again. You know?
Yeah, those railroad tracks are long and wide.
Boy,
That's what
yeah,
she
that's
said.
what she said. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a coin, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said. Joke in here. That's nice.
Yeah. One of many, I'm sure.
It's our favorite.
One of many. Let's see. Some of the old facts, and we won't go over the old stuff because I got a couple new things. But let's talk about the flag because you brought up the flag, and I mentioned it before. It's 45 tons, 59 feet tall. In 1995, the officials built and Puerto Rican activists, they built the flag, the arches over the stretch of Paseo Boricua that is named, and it also holds the Puerto Rican Walk of Fame. Also, so
That's crazy.
yeah, pretty dope.
true.
But Josh, you were saying something that I didn't know. Why don't you go ahead and I'm gonna get my finger over the coin button ready. So
Okay, y'all. This is going to be a little history on the Puerto Rican flags. Buckle up.
yeah,
So those flags are actually the largest monument to a flag in the world. Fun fact.
That's crazy.
that's crazy.
Billy Ocasio was the alderman at the time. Thanks to him, Representative Luis Gutierrez and Mayor Daley. Those flags were built. Actually had to get brought over overnight because the materials were so wide, they were taking up too many lanes on the expressway. So it was actually built overnight. We have an episode on it if anybody wants to listen to it.
Yes, sir.
And it's interesting that we have flags of that kind here and not in a place like New York, somewhere else on the East Coast, Orlando.
Yeah.
You're talking about millions of Puerto Ricans on the East Coast, a million in New York, a million in Florida alone. But no Puerto Rican community has ever organized at the scale and the diaspora like the one here in Chicago. You look at those flags, and they are a form of protest.
Okay.
So why is it that they are a form of protest, you might ask? It is because at one point, those flags, if you went back enough in time, early 1900s, you would actually get arrested and put in jail for about a decade for just having that flag.
What?
Really? Wow. The Puerto Rican flag.
The Puerto Rican flag.
Jesus.
In the United States.
In the United States, yeah.
Wow.
It
Talk
was
about
called, the law in Spanish was called La Ley de la Mordaza, or the gag law in English. The fear came from the independence movement in Puerto Rico that this flag represented the push for independence. Independence meant the cash cow that the United States had in Puerto Rico would slip through their fingers. But there's an evolution of that flag. So if you go back to like 1868, there was something called El Grito de Lares. Spanish Empire is in control. People are not liking their existence in Puerto Rico. The top one, bringing it to like nowadays, the top 1% had all the power. You had slavery on the island. You had working class people, famine, economic chaos, and it was a working class uprising against Spanish government. So, and that was like across different classes, demographics, merchants, slaves, poor people. It was an amazing feat. Only lasted a few days. Spanish were like, or the Spanish Empire.
What are you doing?
Right. You really want to try
like 100 miles wide. Not gonna happen, buddy. But that did usher in like things like a little bit closer to like freedom of the press. It ushered in, getting rid of slavery. A lot of like really like political elections. It ushered in a lot of good stuff. But ultimately, when we get to the Spanish-American War, where Spain is basically telling Puerto Rico, you're going to be free, the United States says, no, we won this in the war, so we're going to take over Puerto Rico. So this Grito de Lares flag, which is still the flag of a town in Puerto Rico called Lares, ends up morphing. And the design, if you ever look up the Grito de Lares flag, is very much based on the Dominican flag, as it is today, as a solidarity thing. A lot of revolutions happening in the Caribbean at the time. So fast forward, Spanish-American War, Grito de Lares flag ends up turning into the flag as we know it today, but the blue in the Puerto Rican flag was lighter to match the blue in the revolutionary flag, the Grito de Lares. So since the flag had the elements of the revolutionary flag, plus it was pretty much the symbol of the independence movement. Pedro Albizu Campos, shout out to him, amazing, like Army vet, Harvard grad, knew like 6 languages, ended up being a political prisoner of the United States because the United States was just like, you want independence? We'll show you what independence looks like. If anybody knows about independence, it's us. We're going to make you a colony. We're not going to give you any choices. We're going to lock up all your leaders. So then, basically, this law goes into place, La Ley de la Mordaza. If you had the Puerto Rican flag in your possession, you waved it, anything. You could go to jail for up to a decade.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
So then, basically, the trying to like kind of mend bridges. The United States says, okay, we're going to accept this flag as the official Puerto Rican flag. So they just made the blue darker to match the blue in the American flag. And that's the story. Flag as we know today, but that's actually modeled after the Cuban flag. A lot of people think it's modeled after the United States. So,
that is very interesting.
There you go.
Shit,
there you go.
That's it. Hold on,
That is
so
crazy.
last thing I'll say on that too, like when you see those two banderas acting as gateways, not only do they represent the fact that Paseo Boricua, the Puerto Rican community here in Chicago, is essentially the cultural center of Puerto Rican culture in the Midwest, but it also still lives on, the legacy of protest still lives on in those flags. When you look at how Humboldt Park is changing, Paseo Boricua has, for the most part, remained intact. And you can take that nowadays, meaning, we've planted our flag here. We're protesting the inequality that exists in our neighborhood. And these flags go a few dozen feet deep. So good luck getting them out. And good luck getting us out.
Yeah, hey, hold on. That was a bar that last. Yeah, come on.
But you know what that reminds me of is when we were in Chinatown, and they kind of did the same thing. They changed the architecture, and they adapted. You know, there was Chinese or language writing, and I don't want to offend anyone, Mandarin Chinese writing, and so it was the same. It was like, we are here. We're not going anywhere. Right. You can gentrify whatever you want, but we're not leaving.
That story was very similar.
Yeah. They invented an entire architectural style.
Right.
They did.
Just so it would be just so in your face that you tried to gentrify them out.
Yeah. You knew what it was.
What developer, they like these little ticky-tacky boxes.
Yeah.
You know? Kind of like all the ornate stuff.
Yeah, and it is beautiful over there.
Yeah, it really is.
Over there.
Yeah.
That is, you said something that I'm going to get to how Puerto Rico, this part of Humboldt Park is kind of like nationally recognized. We'll get to that in a moment. But some more fun facts about Humboldt Park. Did you know the actual Humboldt Park is not even in the community area? It is in West Town. We haven't covered West. Yeah, we haven't covered West Town yet. But that is amazing. And if you remember last time I told you, I was like, part of Humboldt Park is located in West Town. Well, now Deeper Dive, it's the actual Humboldt Park. So that is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's out of control.
Humboldt Park, actually, to add on to that,
has
the largest collection of Puerto Rican art in the world besides the island.
Hey,
we have Humboldt Park hosts the National Museum of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture.
Right.
So look at my man. Look at my man jumping in.
2001 founded. Got accredited 2011.
Hey, I'm gonna jump ahead in a second because he just.
Oh no! Did I get your fun? Oh man, I'm sorry.
This is what we doing. You a man of the people right here. You. This is your hood, man. So real quick, you know what? Let me skip to that. Let me skip to that because that's such a dope.
I'm throwing everything off.
No. I love it because that is a dope ass fact. The National Museum of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture is the only self-standing museum in the nation that showcases Puerto Rican arts and culture year-round. And to your point, in 2014, it was actually recognized. They changed the name to say national because it is the only one in the country to do what they do for the culture and for the arts. So fantastic.
But we got like 800 McDonald's.
You know,
what?
Over a billion served. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
You know?
But that speaks to the point I was saying earlier. Like, you look at any other Puerto Rican community in the diaspora, no one has organized at the level that the Puerto Rican community here has.
I actually want you to define that word.
You know, I was just thinking.
Here's the thing.
Diaspora?
So,
I got you.
As like my family's Palestinian, so we are children of the diaspora as well. So I know, but I want you to, for anyone that's listening that's never heard that used in context.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm not going to give you the Webster dictionary.
Right.
I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's anybody that's been displaced from their homeland. So you think about the Jewish people being displaced from Israel by the Romans, centuries ago. You think about Palestinians being kicked out by Israel of their homeland. Same thing with Puerto Rico. I mean, right now we live in a world where the majority of Puerto Ricans don't actually live in Puerto Rico. It's about 3 million on the island, 5 million here in the United States.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
I wish I could get 8 million podcast listeners.
Hey, man.
We'll get there. Speak it into existence. Will it?
Just put it out there, man. just put it out there, y'all.
No, but it's a crazy little seesaw. We just kind of transferred populations, but. That's what colonialism will do to you.
Yeah, and we talked about it in the first episode. Y'all go back and listen because it did have a lot of. We did talk about how it moved, kind of like the Great Migration. You know what I mean with blacks. You know what I mean. It's the same situation. It's the same situation. Close around the same time, you know what I mean, time frame and everything. So,
without white flight, you wouldn't see Puerto Ricans in the Wicker Park area.
Right.
You wouldn't see them in Humboldt Park.
Man, this man is you in my brain, Josh.
Like,
you in my brain.
Isn't it funny how it works?
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how it's like white flight and then they come back and gentrify that same area?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Lincoln Park's a perfect example. You know, I DePaul's my alma mater. Met my wife there. My dad worked there. My mom graduated there. I got married there.
Yeah.
Worked there.
That's crazy.
Life is there.
But they are the reason that Puerto Ricans got kicked out of Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
You know, we
Really?
had white flight. Puerto Ricans were, that was it. That was like you'd have Puerto Ricans coming from New York, coming from the islands, and search for good paying jobs.
Yeah.
And then they settled down in Lincoln Park. DePaul was like, "Yeah, we're gonna start a university for lower income, first generation, second generation students." And now it's like
$50,000 a year.
$50,000 a year, basically have taken up.
Yeah.
It's not even Lincoln Park; it's DePaul Park.
Right.
So yeah, to your point, I mean, Puerto Ricans have moved around just like many other BIPOC communities have had to kind of get pushed out at the behest of the more affluent in our society.
At the behest of, I like that.
I mean,
that's a good one.
His vocabulary in this episode is just out of control, man. I'm sitting. I wanted to say, what the hell is diaspora so bad, but he sounds so eloquent saying it. So I didn't want to stop him, man. So I'm glad you said it because using my brain.
It was a good question. Good question.
Man, look, it's a fire question because I mean, I think people want to know. They want to know. I'm sure somebody else listened to it.
Yeah.
But to your point about the Lincoln Park, we learned when we did the Lincoln Park episode that they really came to Lincoln Park in Humboldt Park is a byproduct in a sense, because that's where they had to go, So, it's crazy how all this is all tied together.
It's almost like it's the same city.
It's the same city. You know what I mean? Like it's wild how we figured this out. But white flight happened. But when people don't realize that the whole South Side at one point was a Humboldt Park, not Humboldt Park, Hyde Park,
right.
And that was all.
It was like a getaway for.
It was a getaway, you know what I mean? And that was the South Side, until it was
Al Capone and them boys.
You know what I'm saying? Man, the more and more you dive into the city's history, man, you learn it's such a. That's why we keep saying Chicago is such a great city. You know what I mean? It is great because we've been through a lot. We have some resolve that is second to none. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know. I could just give Chicago their roses.
Hey, I think there's something to said about the resolve, specifically the BIPOC communities that exist that make up Chicago. I mean, talking about the South Side, I immediately, even not super South Side, but even further south of here, you think about people like Chairman Fred Hampton, who was doing great stuff. That could be a whole episode of itself. You know who Chairman Fred is? Shame on you if you live in Chicago. Read it up, watch a documentary. It's sad story, but also uplifting at the same time.
Yes.
But you look at the example of the Black Panthers. Something similar to that was in the Puerto Rican community here in Chicago. Actually, started here in the Puerto Rican community. They're called the Young Lords. Have you ever heard of them?
Hi, we talked about it on the first episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they started in Lincoln Park. You never know.
Because
they kind of whitewashed them away. Yeah. But they started here and basically, did a lot of the things the Black Panthers did.
It was peace. And also another, again, I love that we can throw back now, to these episodes. Go listen to because they are good episodes. And I'm not being biased. We're giving knowledge here.
They are good. Yep.
But the Young Lords also helped Harold Washington win his bid for mayor of Chicago. So all this shit ties in, man. That was 100,000 folks that he got that he got their buy-in and they vouched for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? After they were depicted as bad people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And thugs. And really, that's not what it was. Yeah. It was fighting for their equity. Really, it was fighting for the equity in Lincoln Park. And you pushed us out to Humboldt Park. So now we want this man. He going to help us out. He listening to us at least. So. Right. Man, I mean, it run deep, man.
Yeah, even the Rainbow Coalition. I mean, you're talking 70s, 80s. I mean, Young Lords were a part of that with the Black Panthers, other white folk. A lot of it was based on coalition building as opposed to what at face value separates us, quote separates us. Yeah. And let's look at it from an economic landscape. And, we see the fruits of that in someone like Harold Washington getting elected. I mean, he ushered in how many elected officials of color. Man. Now, I will say this, not all skin folk are kinfolk.
Yeah, man, look.
Everybody is going to, anybody you elect in office just anybody that, you elect based off the status of their identity, you might be set up for failure. Yeah. But he ushered in a lot of heavyweights in the city. And I still, to this day, think Harold Washington was one of the best mayors we ever had. He was really treated fairly.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate situation with him, man. If y'all don't know about that, y'all need to go.
Yes, read it up. Watch a Harold Washington interview.
Go to the library.
They're pretty cool.
Oh yeah, go to the library downtown and go upstairs to the 9th floor.
Yeah, it is absolutely
check out the
gorgeous.
Harold Washington Museum.
Shout out to them.
Love it.
Got a few fun facts also for the area here. Did you know the first Dominic's grocery store was opened here at Ohio and Evers in 1918?
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah. By Dominic DiMatteo. All 72 stores closed in 2013. But yeah, the first Dominic's, and this is one of those things where you got to be a Chicagoan or Chicagoland, to be fair, to know what Dominic's is. That was the place. That was where we got our groceries from. So that was started here. Unreal.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Here's another one. I'm not sure if anybody knew. Schwinn Bicycle Company.
Did know that.
Okay.
I think we talked about that last time.
Did we? Okay. It's located here near North Avenue and Costner from 1901 to 1986. And the new location now is actually North Grand High School, which was built in 2004. So Schwinn bicycles. So all those bicycles that we used to ride back in the day started right here and was open right here in Humboldt Park. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, this last fun fact, and I got two more things after, but this last fun fact though, this is one that I have talked about several times. You know that I'm a big fan. Shout out to Jeffrey Bear.
Love Jeffrey Bear.
Love Jeffrey Bear, man. I've learned so much about the city because of him and all his tours and his documentaries. And so I knew this fact, but I didn't know quite the pinpoint of it. Frank Baum moved to Chicago, and if y'all don't know who L. Frank Baum is, in 1891 he moved here to Humboldt Park and wrote The Wonderful Wizard of Oz in 1900. Okay,
That's crazy.
It
Grew
was
up 2 blocks from there.
Yeah.
grew up 2 blocks from there, and he wrote it obviously. That's The Wizard of Oz, y'all. And you can go to the site where he grew up, not the place, not the house, but they have a mural there. And the sidewalk around it is a yellow brick road. And that started right here in Chicago. I told y'all that The Wizard of Oz is heavy in here, man. Chicago's the greatest city on earth.
I always have wondered why everybody in Chicago walks around with ruby red heels. It's like, this is kind of an odd tradition we have.
That's weird.
Yeah.
There's actually also, we talked about Oz Park.
Yes.
Which has all of, not near Humboldt Park, but near Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
And then they have it's like a mosaic. I don't want to say it's not a mosaic, but it is made out of stone.
Yeah.
And it's the skyline and then the yellow
with yellow brick road. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Chicago is Chicago. I'm telling you, like, you'll take Chicago out of the mix.
A lot of things
go away.
Yes.
Think about that. I'm sure Frank Baum would have wrote the Wizard of Oz. It would have become a stage play to this degree. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure a lot of the inspiration is from his life, and growing up in Chicago and seeing Chicago grow. Because think about it, in the 1900s, we already had 2 World's Fairs.
Right.
We already had 1 World Fair at that one point, and we were on our way to another World Fair. So city burned down already.
Yeah.
So I'm sure his inspiration. Come on now, you can't tell me that he didn't get some inspiration from Chicago. His time being here.
Yeah.
He's probably drinking a lot of PBRs. Those were introduced at the World's Fair, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, shout out to the 2-time champ Chicago for having 2 World's Fairs.
Yes.
And not only just having 2 World's Fairs, but we renamed them, on our own, called them Chicago Fair. That's so Chicago.
There's also beef if people care about World's Fair history trivia. There's actually, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but there was actually a big beef between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison over who would light one of the World's Fair, and J.P. Morgan Chase was involved. There's a whole thing.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Basically, made Tesla bankrupt because he tried to get in line with people to sell off his basically had to give up his rights to his invention.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh wow.
Whole direct current, alternating current debate was very high at that time. The World's Fair was a part of that.
I'm going to look that up. I love that kind of stuff. Dang, it was beef back in the day.
Yeah, there's actually a really good documentary. I think History Channel did it. It's called The Men Who Built America. But it talks about your Vanderbilt, your Carnegies, your J.P. Morgans.
Just the dozen.
Really,
got all
the
the credit,
5 white guys that basically monopolized everything.
Yeah.
But then gave all their money away, so they're heroes and happy.
That's basically what happened. So a couple things with the actual neighborhood over here in Humboldt Park. there's this thing 2020 called Invest Southwest,
right?
Where they take the South and West community areas and uplift, try to rebuild, rebrand, bring housing, job opportunities, and basically rebuild what the culture once was, because we know how things have gone south for some of the places. So here there are two winning projects that I want to kind of talk to you about that are I saw that are really cool, and I think gonna do a lot of good things. But I want to hear your take on it and how it affects the actual community, people in the community. The first one is, I'm gonna butcher this name. It is Team Pioneros. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's like, yeah.
Good. Keep it moving.
Bruh. Okay, I try.
You get points, man. That's good.
I'm gonna leave my points off this one.
You get points. Now give yourself a coin.
No,
Come on.
I defer. That's your coin.
As a Spanish speaker, and my Spanish is not perfect by any stretch of the means, but you always get points for trying.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But see, I get points for trying.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't say anything.
Anyway,
I just laughed.
It is a $53.9 million proposal on the northwest corner of North Avenue and Pulaski. It's going to be an entrepreneurial incubator space, and
interesting.
Yeah, and Latino Cultural Center and office space, 9-story. 100% affordable, 75-unit residential place with office space for Humboldt Park Family Health, and a potential library branch. It's going to be there.
I think it's fantastic. Actually, I've always wondered, driving past that building and that empty lot for so long, and wondering who's going to do something with this.
Right.
A part of me was like, hey, if I was making money like that, that'd be a nice house, that spot on the corner.
Yeah.
But actually, tying this to the Puerto Rican community here, that actually used to be the house of the old Banco Popular, which is the National Bank of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
They moved
Yep.
across the street.
Yep.
But higher level view, I think it's a great move by the city. I think anytime you can get 100% affordable access to housing is a win. If you can add a new library in a particular part of the community, especially a community that may not have a library that's in walking distance, that's a beautiful thing. So I think those like four corners there could use the investment. It just depends on what that investment is. And I think this is a good step in the right direction. So definitely in favor of that. But I think it's going to be like 5 years till it's built, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit till it gets built. Yeah, I got I think not quite a decade, I don't think. A little bit lower. Okay. I have the picture of it because the building looks beautiful. Obviously it's 2020, so here we are with nice facades and things like that. But it looks beautiful. I'm sure y'all just saw the picture if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, it's fantastic. The second one is the Ave, located 3601 West Chicago Avenue, $25.3 million proposal on the southwest corner of Chicago and Central Park Aves. It's redeveloped into a 5-story mixed-use, mixed-income complex with 44 residential units, about 21,000 square feet of restaurant, gym, and daycare space, in addition to new office spaces for the current location, which is the neighborhood housing services. So, kind of the neighborhood housing services getting a rebuff, to kind of help out probably with the other building that's going to be going on there.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think that's a good step in the right direction. Few questions, like, is that daycare going to be affordable?
Right.
I think what we've seen.
Is the gym going to be affordable?
Is the gym going to be affordable?
Yeah.
I think what we've seen with the Great Resignation is that people are leaving their jobs for higher wage jobs. But you also have a lot of people that have just left the job market, either women or men, or people that may be non-binary. They just decide, I can't afford childcare,
right,
so I'm just going to stay home. It's actually cheaper for me not to bring in a second income because I can't pay whatever the amount it is, but it's like in the thousands or something like that.
Literally, like at least minimum. I think I remember my cousin's son was going to daycare 3 days a week. They live in Mokina, so they're not even in the city, right? 3 days a week, they paid $1,500 a month.
Yeah, nuts.
Yeah,
that is mind blowing. What are you teaching this child?
Look, I don't know. You better learn 5 languages. I know that much. Learn how to pay bills. Learn how to.
And like you think about being in the time of COVID too, that extra stressor on top of that, and it's not like childcare is getting any less cheaper.
No,
right.
So if there's gonna be less kids in childcare, that childcare is gonna shut down, or they're gonna raise their prices. So it's like squeezing juice out of a rock at this point.
Yeah.
So those would be some of the questions that come to my mind. And if we're saying, oh yeah, we want this to be a multi-income property or housing development, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But what's the percentage? Like what's the percentage of units that are going to go to low-income families, low-income folks, just working-class folks in general? And what percentage is going to be allotted for people that are making, 6-figure territory that have no problem throwing down a $10,000 deposit on a property?
Yeah, and we're right now we're like on the border of Ukrainian Village and Humboldt Park. And it's like you just need to walk down the block to see that Humboldt Park is not the same that it was like a decade ago, right? So we spoke a little bit before we started recording about how people are getting pushed out of the neighborhood, right? There's a lot of things that, the property value is going up, which could be beneficial to some people, but it's detrimental to a lot of the people that have lived here their whole lives and now can't afford to live here anymore. I don't know if you had thoughts on that.
I mean, lots of thoughts on that. I mean,
3 thoughts.
I think you look at the history of Humboldt Park, you're going to see a history of resistance, a history of rebellion, a history of pushing back on what the city views as the status quo and as what it views as a positive investment in a particular neighborhood. I think growing up, it's not the same Humboldt Park I grew up with. Actually, my wife and I ended up getting gentrified out, and we had to find a home in Hermosa, which is beautiful. Yeah. But we're like a lot of Puerto Ricans, just trying to get in where we fit in, and stay in this place that we set roots in, that we call home. But unfortunately, due to a lot of these changes, a lot of the pushing out of Puerto Ricans and from different neighborhoods over the city over the generations, decades, we're living in a time where a majority of the Puerto Ricans that live in the state of Illinois don't even live in Chicago. I think it's like 53% as of 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Majority of Puerto Ricans live out in the suburbs.
Wow.
Wow. Which is like, for me, it's like I want to raise my kids here. I want to be able to walk down Paseo Boricua. I'd love to live on Paseo Boricua,
Right.
But the older I get, the more I see that opportunity kind of just slipping through my grasp. So I can only imagine what somebody that lived here since the 70s, 60s, and thought they were going to live here forever, all of a sudden has to uproot themselves because some mayor or some council member or a certain amount of TIF dollars were coming into this neighborhood to make it quote unquote better. But better for who?
Right.
And ultimately, Puerto Ricans are on the losing side of that, which is why I think Paseo Boricua looks like what it does today. And that's big time credit to the Puerto Rican community, Puerto Rican Cultural Center, Puerto Rican Agenda, a lot of great nonprofits in that area that have really tried to plant the flag as deep as they can so that they're not displaced. But it's a hard battle. And man, I don't know. I hope I live long enough to see us win that battle. But the way Chicago works, I wouldn't be surprised. But we see a lot of that in Puerto Rico as well. We got a lot of, funny enough, cryptocurrency millionaires and billionaires buying up property there and kicking people out, and we might live in a world where we might have a majority of people living in Puerto Rico not actually be Puerto Rican.
Right, man. To preserve some of that history, I want y'all to just go down and look at the museum, the National Museum, Puerto Rican Arts and Culture. Take it, come out to this neighborhood and see what it's all about. Like I said, the first time we were around, we never had a lot of the food that we ate. What was the name of that sandwich? The Jibarito?
The J's the H.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. So I knew that. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
He's like, I don't know if
I gave you a pass on the first one. No, I'm messing with you.
I don't know. Anyway, but we had that. And that sandwich actually was created here in Chicago.
Yes.
So, it's funny that, a lot of the culture is kind of shifting, but a lot of that started here in Chicago. Like something like that. If you come to Chicago, it's such a dope city. You just got to be here, man. You got to be here and kind of intake this culture, man. So it's dope to come around, like I said, the second time and have somebody that's, intertwined into the neighborhood, into the community and can speak on it. You know what I mean? And not just somebody telling what they read. You know what I mean? Man, y'all, that was the facts, man. That was the facts. If y'all like it, listen to it again. If you didn't, well.
If you're looking for a good example too, if you're looking for a good example of the Puerto Rican community coming together and just saying, we're fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
Look up, Google, 1966, 1977, Division Street and Humboldt Park riots.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that there's a lot of parallels to what we're seeing today with a lot of the civil unrest that we had a summer ago. Same thing was happening in the 60s and 70s in Chicago.
Yeah. Y'all go look that up. I saw that, and there's some things I left out on purpose just because.
That's a whole nother. People don't know when they Google it. That's
you gonna see it.
Yeah. And
Yeah. So, but would you?
I was just gonna let's talk about the food.
Oh yeah, I was about to say we gonna eat some food. We're gonna take a little break. We're gonna eat some food because we are at Jeff and Jude's, and they have some fantastic sandwiches that we only had half of.
So big.
They are. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
So we're gonna.
I opened the door for that one.
You did. Yeah, you did. Y'all, we'll be right back. Dion's Chicago Dream is a nonprofit fighting food insecurity through its Dream Deliveries weekly free fresh produce delivery program. The goal is to feed families, create community, and fuel hope.
You can visit www.Dion'sChicagoDream, that's DIONS, ChicagoDream.com, or search Dion's Chicago Dream on social media to support. Learn more and join the food fight. We are back with the food portion of the podcast.
Yeah, buddy.
I need to find a new transition.
I mean,
because that just sounds boring, but
we'll figure it out. I mean, shout out to Choose Chicago.
Oh yeah,
shout out to Choose Chicago, kind of point us in the right direction.
Yeah,
so
so we are at Jeff and Jude's, and we are highlighting them today in celebration of Women's History Month.
Yes,
because it is a woman-owned business. And if you are not familiar with Jeff and Jude's, it is a Jewish deli here on the border of Humboldt Park and Ukrainian Village. Mm-hmm. They actually started out as a takeout only, so you could only order to go. They were selling out so fast, people couldn't get orders. It would take seconds and everything would sell out. And they only recently opened up their in-store, and yeah, I mean they've been doing great.
This is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that they started out as just takeout only.
Just takeout only. It was like a small little store. You couldn't sit. You couldn't come in and sit. You just ordered to go, and people wanted more, so they gave them what they wanted.
Give people what they want.
Yeah. So it's replaced, which I didn't know when I knew it looked familiar when we walked in, but I didn't know what it was. But it replaced what previously used to be a burger place. Lockdown.
Yeah.
And that used to be. I've been here a couple times. I really like their burgers, but so the space is really nice. You have these a brick wall on one side, which is literally the outside of the building.
The outside of the building. Yeah.
There's a really cool garage door, which I assume they would open during
summertime.
The summer.
Is lit.
Yep. And then you have the front, countertop area and little deli, and then the kitchen's in the back. But it's very white and spacious and bright and looks very aesthetically pleasing, I would say.
Yeah. It feels like a diner mixed with a upscale chic type of vibe, you know what I mean?
So it's an LA vibe Jewish deli.
I'm getting some comedians in cars getting coffee vibes from
this.
Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's very LA, and that's the vibe that they went with.
Okay, and I like it. It works.
Mm-hmm.
It works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will add this. We were talking about this before we hit record, but lockdown Kuma's Corner connection here for people that like Kuma's Corner. Yeah. My understanding is there was a fallout from some of the staff there. Cook was like, man, I make these burgers. I'm going to make my own spot. Ended up making Lockdown. So that's why if you ever came here when it was open, you were getting the same quality, a bit cheaper.
Okay.
Same Kuma's quality, but
new ownership.
Kuma's Corner quality, but yeah.
It's a mouthful.
Man, I can't talk today, man. This interview should have been Spanish.
I would have been sitting here quiet.
I speak both.
I would have said "see" a lot.
Yeah. "See." That's Dario's go-to response when someone addresses him in any other language other than English.
Nice.
It could be whatever, and he would respond with "see."
Yeah, I like that because you kind of hedge your bets. Either they speak Spanish and they're like, "Oh, what am I looking at? What are you asking me to look at?" Something on
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, I see you. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, that's funny.
That's funny.
We had a lot of food. So the sandwiches here, y'all, are
huge.
Yes. I mean,
you know what I like is that the menu is like concise.
Yeah, it's very easy. You really like that though.
I know.
Like, that's your thing. You don't like.
I don't like an overwhelming menu.
Yeah.
Because that means you're not doing everything really well. That means you only have. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, Sarah, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you sound like a Kitchen Nightmares fan. Did you ever watch that?
For sure.
Okay, because that's like
sure.
the biggest thing. Gordon Ramsay. That's one of the top things. He's like, this menu is too long.
But the idea behind it is that if your menu is too big, that means your chef doesn't know all the items very well. So, like, as a person, you can only memorize so much. You can only master so many recipes. There's no way you know how to do 20 entrees really well.
Think about that.
You know what I mean? So if you have like 5 things on your menu, that means your chef is doing all 5 really well.
Yeah, you're a master at that.
So it's hard to miss.
That's I started watching Kitchen Nightmares a few years ago, and that's the vibe I would get going to Golden Nugget.
Yep.
Man, that's great at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
2 a.m.
That parking lot is a bitch.
Yeah, after some drinks. But after watching Kitchen Nightmares, I'd go through this Golden Nugget menu. I'm like, man, there's like 20 pages here of stuff and like 10-point font.
Yeah,
it's like,
insane. You know, where y'all making all this?
Right. A lot of it probably is like from frozen. A lot of it is like not fresh. So that's the first thing I look at. Is how big is the menu?
And I think they make it. It's definitely understandable. You know what I mean? Like this menu right here is you get your basics. You know what I'm saying? But like not that sandwich of basics. You know what I mean? Like I know. Like, do I want a Reuben with this, or do with that, or with this, or do I just want a pastrami with this? No, it tells you mustard, rye bread, pickle on the side, horseradish. You know what I mean? Like, and I think for somebody like me, you know, I'm a not a picky eater, but like if I see some shit I don't know what's on there, I'm like I don't want to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, I think they keep it like fairly simple and straightforward, and I shy away from this word, but traditional in a sense. So it's, they're not like trying to overly complicate and make it like gimmicky. Like it's just you get what you're looking at and what you expect. Honestly, when I looked at the prices, I was like, I wonder what portion this is, because this is not a cheap sandwich.
Not at all.
The cheapest sandwich we got was like $18, and that is just the sandwich and the pickle. But it is packed. Like you're not finishing that sandwich.
Yeah. Which, by the way, none of us finished. If we go down the line, Josh, what did you get?
I had what did I have? Oh, I had a corned beef corned beef on rye. I was going to corned beef hash. Corned beef on rye, fries on the side. Didn't finish either of them.
Yeah.
Not even.
But delicious.
It was really good. I had the Reuben fries on the side. Both portions were huge. Even the fries was a lot. I feel like we could have shared a plate of fries.
Yeah, easily shared a plate.
Sure.
I had the pastrami. The pastrami had the mustard on it. There's something they said it had like mustard with like mustard seeds.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
I love that.
Yeah, it was fire on the rye bread, of course. Had a nice char to it.
Yep.
Had a nice char. I mean, and it was like so like tender. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's probably slow cooked for a long time.
I mean, so how do you slow cook something and it be that char on the outside and that tender?
Well, what you do is this is what I think. I don't know how they do it, but you char the outside. Same way you would like cook a steak is like you get the outside first, and then you like stick it in the oven to cook the rest. So you get the char on the outside first.
I had no clue about
Same thing with like salmon. You would
sear it.
You would sear the skin, and then you would bake it, so it cooks all the way through. So that's how you get the crispiness on the outside, and then you stick it in high heat for however long.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I'm taking notes. All right, this is what I'm cooking for my wife for dinner.
Yeah. This is the chef right here. She a beast with it.
If it doesn't go well, though, Sarah, I'm telling my wife to call you.
I'm blocking you.
This account is blocked.
We taking this episode down.
All the parts are going to be it's going to be Dario talking to himself.
Me just in the camera doing this with nothing on the other side.
See.
I really like the sandwich, man, because like for $18, $19, which is about the average price of the sandwiches. Look, I feel like you get enough with it. You know what I mean? Normally I wouldn't eat a sandwich just by itself and like not have anything, but the fries were good. Yeah, didn't eat them. You can get chips with it also, but like I didn't really need the fry. You know what I mean? It's a good compliment though. But I would have been full with just that sandwich, just a half sandwich.
Yeah.
I
think my favorite addition, well, not addition, but what comes when you order the sandwich is that pickle.
Oh my god!
I know people listening may feel a certain type of way about pickles, but man, you eating that sandwich and you're like, man, this is good. But then you take a crunch of that pickle, you're like, flavor town.
I like that he spent a lot of time telling you how much you like that pickle, huh?
That pickle was good. Hit it. That's what she said. Probably the best pickle I ever had, I tell you. That's what she said. Girth was there. Wasn't too dry. That's what she said.
All right.
See, I like people that go along with the fuckery.
I'm here for fuckery, man. Let's get it.
He picked up on it real quick. I love it. I love it.
For sure. What other thoughts do you guys have?
So if you come here, here's one thought that I will say. When you come here in Chicago, the mask mandate is up. But this place still enforces mask and vaccine cards. So if you are going to come here, make sure you have your mask ready. Have it handy, had a vaccine card ready. I saw only one group of people that left. I think they wanted to buy by the rules. One guy just didn't have it on him. So I say that because make sure you have it. I didn't have my mask. They have masks to supply, but just make sure you carry your vaccine card on you. Overall, Jeff and Jude's thoughts on Jeff and Jude's?
I actually had one last thing I wanted to say. So I'm pretty sure it's a Jewish deli, so I'm pretty sure it's kosher. And I'm a firm believer that kosher and halal foods taste better just because of the way that the meat is butchered.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so if you are...
100%.
And I remember when I used to keep halal when I was younger and we went to New York, I would go into kosher restaurants because that's all I could eat.
Yeah.
Halal and kosher is the same. So
you know what's funny is so the first time I've ever had halal, you introduced me to it. I had no clue about it, and I think we talked about this on the episode that I've never eaten it because I'm like, I don't know what that is. That was my thought process. If I don't know the word, I ain't eating it. You know what I mean? But she broke it down to me, and when I ate it, y'all normally I just be like, man, it tastes the same. Nah. It's different.
Yeah,
It's something way different with it, man.
And it's one of the aspects of why it's different is the way the meat that is butchered, the animal isn't in stress.
Yeah.
Because at least in halal butchering, you pray over the animal and you kind of like calm it down, and then you kill it pretty quickly, so it doesn't like. Stress out.
Yeah.
So the meat doesn't have that stress hormone released into it, so it tastes different. At least that's my understanding, and that's what I was told growing up. But I really think there is a difference in taste.
Yeah, it definitely is a difference.
If you keep halal or kosher, this is a good option too.
Mashallah to halal food being in the world.
Okay.
Man. Thank you for being in the world.
Yeah. My man, go ahead.
Makes the world a better place, I say.
Right?
Final thoughts, Jeff and Jude.
Thumbs up. I come here again. I think bigger picture. We used to have a lot of Jewish delis in the city.
Yeah.
Now they're few and far between. So to have another one is nice.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I love it. Definitely.
Man, y'all, I think the sheer size of the sandwich is
so big.
It just is like that right there alone is, for me, like sometimes like I like to almost to the point where it's gluttonous. I don't want to be, but I love to eat food. You know what I mean? Like when, especially when it's good. Y'all, the pastrami sandwich I had, fire. Y'all.
I also appreciate a spot, speaking of those servings, where you can go and, maybe the price tag's a little higher. Yeah, a little tough on the wallet, especially in these times.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can get a second, maybe even a third serving out of it, like that's a big thumbs up for me.
Yeah, we definitely got leftovers, and I'm with it. I'm with it.
Yes.
All right, tell everyone where they can follow you, where can they listen to the podcast, all that good stuff.
Yeah, let people know.
Okay, rundown. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're on TikTok, but we just have the handle. There's nothing there. But if you want to follow us on any of those platforms, at Paseo Podcast, we have a website where we'll do curate special episodes like for Small Business Saturday, Women's History Month. It's paseomedia.org. You can also reach out to the show through that if you want to pitch yourself or someone you know or a story that you think we would want to highlight on the show. A lot of that has kind of been the way we've made things work. We've had a little bit of research I've done, a lot of research that listeners have done. So always welcome to a collaborative experience for anybody that wants to reach out.
Man, there you go. Look, man, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. Honestly, this is what we envision life after 77 to be. We want to talk to the people. You know what I mean? Like hear what you got to say about it. So and still learn. Still learn. I proved that I can still dig and get some more information out of there. So thank you for being a part of the podcast. Y'all make sure y'all go get in tune. Tap in with my man's over here, man. He put the Puerto Rican community on the map right here. Notice so people we learn more daily about them. So
igualmente, and again, Sarah, Dario, I really appreciate y'all. Out of any guests to have on your show, appreciate you, having me on today to talk about the Paseo podcast, Puerto Rican history, awesome food.
Yeah,
appreciate you both.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's all, folks. If you like this episode, send it to someone you like, love, care for, want to entertain. If you hate this episode, that is all right. Don't DM me. I don't want to hear your thoughts. I don't want to hear your feedback. No, I'm just playing. You can send me feedback. Constructive criticism only.
Constructive feedback.
Constructive feedback only.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all be blessed.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Dario, Sarah, Josh, we out.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of 77 Flavors of Chicago. We look forward to having you again next Monday. So make sure you look out for us on any platform where you can listen to a podcast. Make sure you rate, subscribe, and do all the things. And we'll see you next Monday.